I have a diagram here I can use to show that hopefully will help people understand, right? So you look at, this is what a healthy gut should kind of look like. This is a thick mucosa layer that is sitting on top of the intestinal epithelium, or this is the
Oh,
lining,
perfect.
the
I love
intestinal
that.
cells, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So this part is the lamina propria, which is the inside part of your body. The tube would be up here. So if you think about your tube, the lumen is the hole in the tube. That's up here, right? So this is the mucosa layer. There's two distinct areas, the mucosa layer, mucin 1 and mucin 2. And then this is the single cell layer that acts as the final barrier between things entering into your inside part of your body. So when food comes in, it all enters in this top part. It's called a lumen. And so most of the microbes that live in your gut live in this top part of the mucus layer called the mucin 1 layer. Um, and food comes in, it gets digested in this layer. The bacteria break it down to a certain degree. Your enzymes and all are secreted up here, and it gets broken down. And then food particles are supposed to be able to move through. And when they get to the intestinal lining, the cells, the space in between the cells are supposed to be able to open up. The things that control that space are called the tight junction proteins. So they're supposed to be able to open up to allow certain nutrients in. Now, other nutrients like fat, like dietary fats and fat soluble nutrients will get picked up from this digesting area and brought through using shuttles, like they're called chylomicrons or lipid rafts, for example. So your body will produce these little rafts that go across. They'll pick up the nutrients and bring and shuttle them across the
That's
lining,
so cool.
right? So yeah, there's all these transport mechanisms. Now, lots of vitamins like vitamin K27, for example, have specific transport mechanisms. They have receptors that they'll bind onto the cell layer, and when they bind to the cell layer, then carriers will come up, grab them from the cell lining, and take them to the liver where they can get processed and used and so on, right? So there's a lot of active transportation going on. And as Bridget mentioned, the microvilli, the little finger-like projections, add surface area to the digestive tract so that you have lots of surface area to absorb nutrients and so on. Now, one of the characteristics of malabsorption is when you start losing these finger-like projections, when they go from this down to getting flattened. The scientific term for that is called enteropathy, right? So when your gut is damaged over and over again, like in the case of celiac disease, or people with severe gluten intolerances, their gut, or HIV, for example, or other gut infections, or inflammatory bowel disease, all of these things that damage the gut lining, you get those finger-like projections shortening and shortening over time. So you lose surface area to your digestive tract. And when you lose surface area, you have less area by which nutrients can be absorbed. So you already have malabsorption, right? So that's one of the things. The other thing that occurs is that if these tight junctions remain open too much, you get a flooding in of things that aren't supposed to be in there, which triggers an inflammatory immune response in this area. That inflammatory immune response will damage these cells over time, which then creates a significant loss of barrier. And when you have these cells damaged, and things just kind of leak through non-specifically on a regular basis. Another area that gets compromised is there is a polarity difference between this part of the gut lining and this part of the gut lining, right? There's an osmolarity gradient. So that gradient, that change in concentration of solubles, actually facilitates the movement of certain nutrients through these cells. So that's called a transcellular pathway. The movement in between the cells are called the paracellular pathway. So larger molecules of nutrients will move in between the cells. Smaller molecules, like certain types of vitamins and minerals and all that, will move through these cells. When your gut lining is damaged, you lose that osmolarity gradient, and those nutrients cannot end up moving through the cell because they count on the difference in concentration from one side to the other in order to move through. So lots of things within the ability to absorb nutrients get heavily compromised when your gut is leaky and damaged.